Hey, good morning, everybody. I am thrilled that you're here today. It's a beautiful snowy day, and I'm actually in a pretty good mood because after 3 weeks, my husband finally made it home. He's been traveling for business. And the problem with me is when he does that, I tend to go on some chocolate benders. And I work too hard and I don't do enough self-care. Hey, Martin, nice to see you. And I tend to fall off the wagon. So it's always good when he comes back because it puts some structure back into my life. Hey, Jane, nice to see you. So having him back home has been really a good reflective exercise for me about all the things that I normally do that keep me feeling pretty stable and happy and moving forward. And it got me thinking today about how I originally got into healing. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body-mind expert and a Shiatsu massage therapist. And my specialty is helping women who have been in toxic relationships, stressful situations, caregivers, things like that, learn how to get their bodies and their minds into alignment so that they can actually get through that hump, get to the other side, and heal and move forward and really live the life that they're meant to live. So if you don't know anything about me, I had a pretty rough upbringing. And so that got me into the healing industry pretty fast. And the first times that I started to really help other people heal through emotional trauma was when I was in my early 20s. I was teaching outdoor environmental education because I didn't like to teach in the school system with my degree. And I went and started to teach outdoor environmental ed to grade school kids up in Wisconsin. And then during the summer, the kids didn't come out, and so I got involved into high ropes courses and rock climbing. And I fell in love with something called experiential education. And experiential education is when you use experiences, things that trigger fear and joy, that give you brand new experiences, hey Michelle, in order to evolve as a person. Now we would do this with kids, hey Amanda, and we would do it with corporations and adults and groups that came out. And it was really pretty cool. And it started a lovely foundation for me, baseline for understanding about how healing works. So one of the things that we would do is we would take people into high ropes courses. I'd hang out in the trees in a harness, and people would climb up into the trees and then do different activities, which were designed to really challenge people. It was considered a challenge course. And we'd also take them rock climbing up at Devil's Lake State Park. And we would, put them on a rope and put them in a harness and help them rock climb to the top. So what does this have to do with emotional healing? So that time of my life was a really beautiful healing time because what things like rock climbing or what things like adventure skiing or facing your fears do is that they trigger you at the deepest level. We would have kids and adults and all sorts of people who would be in a harness and, the first job they needed to do was climb this rope ladder up into the trees. And they would be petrified. They would be terrified. They wouldn't want to do it. And of course, we wouldn't force anybody. We'd encourage them. But we wanted to be the support system and the support network for people who wanted to grow outside of the place that they've been in their life. They wanted to recognize different experiences. And so most people, with the love and encouragement and support of not only staff, but also the group that was with them, would do the things that scared them more than anything. Hey, Kelly, nice to see you. They would finally do the things that made their heart pound. And what this does is it goes into your psyche, it goes into your subconscious, that primal part of you that when, let's say, an abuser is yelling at you or you've got a toxic coworker who is extremely negative, those sorts of things can trigger that big fight or flight, but so could climbing a rock, climbing the side of a rock face, hey Jody, or climbing a rope ladder or walking across a bridge, even if the bridge was just a few feet above the ground. These are the sorts of things that we can set up, that we can put into place, that allow us to access those deepest emotional wounds. Because when you open the door, you open it to everything that's in that closet, everything that you've been stuffing in that closet. So if you're triggered or afraid by taking those first few steps up a rock wall, all of those fears of not being good enough and being intimidated and how you're going to be hurt and how you'll never figure it out anyways, all of those same fears that control you in those other areas of your life are accessed. And it's really beautiful because this is how we change our wiring. We change our wiring by having positive experiences. Hey, Chris, by having positive experiences around old wounds. So for me, because my experiences when I was a kid were that I had to be perfect, I'd never be good enough, that I was going to fail at everything that I tried. These were some of the beliefs. And when you face something like climbing a rope ladder and all of those fears come forward, but now you're having a positive experience of love and support, and you take those first few steps and you're perfectly supported with a rope and a harness and people encouraging you on, and you take step by step. You can use these metaphors, you can use these real life experiences to help you go back and rewire a lot of the beliefs and a lot of the ideas that still control you. Because let's say somebody comes into, your workplace or a customer or something like that, and they're very toxic and they're very negative, and it triggers you so much that maybe you even want to pee yourself. Maybe you want to run in the opposite direction, but you stand there and you deal with it. We can allow external circumstances like that, stuff from the universe, to come and trigger and open those doors, or we can be proactive and we can start doing things which are kind of scary for us. But now it's on our terms. Now it's by our rules. We get to say yes on Saturday at 10 a.m. with these people who are trained to be supportive and kind and loving. I am going to face a fear that will let me heal all of this past stuff, all of those ideas and all of those thoughts and memories. And it's not sitting in a therapy room, and it's not doing primal screaming. What it is using the physical body and the physical self to rewire how you feel about things. Because when you're paralyzed at the bottom of a rock face, when you cannot move, when you cannot breathe because you are so frightened of taking those first few steps, but you do, you start changing your reality. Now, reality isn't what's going on out there in the world, because the body doesn't really know the difference between what you imagine and what you actually do. And so you can use something that, like meeting a boa constrictor, like going on your belly to the edge of the Grand Canyon and looking over the edge. You can use these things, these adventures, hang gliding, skydiving, all of these things. You can use them to get into the deepest parts of your psyche, into the parts that therapy won't touch, that workshops won't touch. These are things, these are the memories and the emotions on the deepest physical nervous system level. So how do you do this? First of all, you find a person or a group of people that can support you through this process. And there's actually a lot of great therapists that integrate things like rock climbing or adventure or experiential education in what they do. I mean, I did. And they understand the process of how this works. And then you set up a day where you're going to go do it, whether it's a workshop or a retreat or half a day, and you allow yourself to break out of your self-imposed barriers, out of your self-imposed fears, and you do something in the most safe, nurturing, supportive environment that you can find. And what happens is you start to build self-esteem. And when you open that closet door with all of those fears and all of those messages that you've been shoving in there for the last few decades, what happens is you start adding new, positive, beautiful things in there. So typically what happens is we shove stuff in the closet, we close the door, and the only time that stuff comes out of the closet is when we can't keep the door locked anymore, when something blindsides us, catches us by surprise, when someone comes into our office with that extremely intense energy and the door is bust off the hinges. Usually we wait for the universe to give these experiences to us, and that can be even re-traumatizing because we're not prepared and we're not in a good space. But if you start doing things which challenge you physically, which open those doors, then you start putting rainbows and unicorns and chocolate and support and love and caring and nurturing also in that closet. And so when the door opens, now it's not just the trauma that you remember that maybe happened when you were 4 or 5 or 6. Hey, Christine. Now it's not the last argument that you had with somebody because they were, have mental health issues or unresolved issues. Now those aren't the only things in the closet. Now when you open the door, you also have that positive support, that positive experience, that self-esteem, that recognition that you were terrified to the point of peeing yourself. You were terrified to that point, and yet you released that emotion. It's one of the reasons I actually loved roller coasters until my stomach started to get, more upset with them as I got older. I loved roller coasters because they were so loud that you were able to go up, you were able to scare the crap out of yourself and scream and release all of this awesome emotion that has been trapped. And now it's in a generally safe, good environment where it's okay to let out all of that energy. And it doesn't have to be stigmatized, and it doesn't have to be, oh my God, you're doing what this weekend? You're doing a Primal Scream weekend? No, I'm going rock climbing, and that's all anybody has to know. But in reality, what you're doing is you're doing this amazing, powerful, emotional releasing, healing work on a physical, cellular, DNA kind of level. This is what you're doing when you start putting adventures into your life. Adventures which are a little bit more organized and a little bit more structured. You can actually heal a lot of this stuff that's going on by making proactive choices to do physical things which push your boundaries, which push you past your comfort zone. Christine says she loves walking back in her woods and screaming. Yes, absolutely. And personally, I like finding things which also have a ton of joy in them. That it's not just excitement, or it's not just fear, it's also excitement. There was an energy healer that I worked with in the past, and one of the things she would say was, there's a very small difference between fear and excitement. So it's super cool because when you do something that's terrifying as well as really exciting and pretty safe, you're able to heal and release all of that fear. And it's the fear, hey Kellyanne, and it's the fear that usually keeps us in toxic relationships, in stressful situations, procrastinating, in bad habits that are our coping skills we've used all along. These are the things that have made us numb, and unable to really move forward. But when you do something, hey Carrie, when you do something that strikes you at your core, but is also really pleasurable. Let's say you go rock climbing and then you go out for a wonderful gathering with everybody afterwards where you have a party and you enjoy each other's company and you laugh and you have pizza and and you get to know each other and you have this intimacy. It's a big, emotional, cathartic, transformative sort of experience. And you can either do it on your own, if this is the sort of thing that you like to do. Maybe friends that I've had have gone to Thailand by themselves. You can do an adventure like that for healing work, or you can do it with a guide, with somebody who knows what they're doing. And so rock climbing for many, many people was a beautiful step in their healing process because it not only allowed them to release all of that stuck energy that was hijacking them and making them feel anxious and angry and out of control and overwhelmed and exhausted and not being able to sleep. It was able to take all of that stuck energy and it was able to move it out. It was able to open the door to it, trigger it, get to it, and release it. And then through the process of it, you learned that you can do it, that you aren't alone, that it is possible to heal, that you aren't stuck and trapped, that you can be happy, that you can move forward, you can do things that scare you, and by doing things that scare you, it actually makes you less scared because you're able to move all of this. You're able to have a brand new memory around it. And so then, after you've done your weekend of rock climbing and primal screaming and catharsis and adventure and fun and community and all of that, you come back to the rest of your life with those tools. Dial down, less stressed, less over emotional, more balanced. You come back in a place where you're able to stand up for yourself. And when the bully comes into your office, you're able to say, excuse me, I'm busy right now. Can we make a time to talk at 2 o'clock? Or you can say, excuse me, I need you to speak to me with a little bit more respect. I need you to treat me with more respect. These are the things that come on the other side of challenging yourself. You don't have to challenge yourself in the ways that will hurt you. You don't have to challenge yourself by waiting for the universe to come in and punch you in the face. You get to do these wonderful adventures like skiing or as I said, high ropes courses, or going out into the woods and doing adventures that way, or learning jujitsu, or skydiving, or hang gliding, or learning how to fly a plane. All of those things that make your heart pound, that make you feel like you're on edge, those are the very same things. Hey, Lynn, those are the very same things that make you feel alive, that give you that spark, that give you that energy back and that strength and that knowingness. We've gotten so tired and so exhausted that so many women have bottomed out, that they have nothing left. How do you get the energy back? You do things which spark that life in you, that frighten you. Because otherwise what will happen is you'll start looking for it. You'll start putting out this energy, and it will attract people who are like, oh, you want a challenge? Okay. When I first got into Native American healing and indigenous medicines and cultural healing, one of the things that I would do is I would sit in a sweat lodge and I would be like, all right, bring it on. I can do this. I want to heal. I want to go. I want to, have it happen. And I put it out into the universe. And the universe said, okay, if you want to stand up and do that and be unprepared, just let life kind of smack you in the face, we'll do that. We can do that. And I learned it's much easier to ask for grace. It's much easier to ask for a graceful way to heal. And when you start thinking in that direction, instead of, I'm going to come out and fight the world, or that you're too exhausted to do anything, when you come from that point of view, you're going to stay stuck. But when you come from the point of view of, you know what, there are things I can do, and I'm going to start bringing life back into my life. I'm going to start doing things. People into their 80s and 90s who feel alive, who are thriving, are the ones who keep having new adventures all the time. They keep challenging themselves. They keep tapping into that fear and their fight or flight response. But they're not doing it by waiting for toxic people to come into their life. They're doing it by being the most adventurous people they know. And you can take it in any direction. I've had it in fun directions. I've had clients I've worked with where the way they did it is through their sexuality. They did it by having these amazing off-the-hook sexual experiences. And they would do things like, just meet people to have this whole physical experience with them and then move on their way. They would do it that way. Other people would do it by, taking up a new hobby, taking up, mixed martial arts or self-defense. Other people do it by traveling. But either way, it has to be where you purposely challenge yourself, where you purposely open these doors. They make your heart pound. They make you sweat. They make you anxious and nervous. They paralyze you. They might make you want to faint. But you set them up and you do them. You set them up in the safest, in the most supportive and nurturing environment that you can find, and you challenge yourself. And what happens on the other side is you're more grounded, you're more peaceful, you have more insight, you have clarity of mind, you have more energy, you have the groundedness to stand up for yourself, the groundedness to find the right words when you're in a challenging situation, the ability to fight back if you need to. You tap into all of these amazing resources, which you probably didn't even know you had. You've been waiting for the negative to come and create that charge and create that movement. You don't have to wait for the negative. You get to focus on the positive. You get to choose to do the positive adventures, which will make you feel alive. That's how you grow and thrive in a positive way, by design, by mindfulness, and opening those doors to the things that scare you the most, that touch you at your deepest, most physical level, and looking it in the face and saying, you know what, we're going to do this. And when we're done, and after we've done this, we're going to celebrate, and we're going to remember this. And those memories and that knowingness, that is how I've been able to do this. That's how I've been able to go from traumatized, terrified little girl who had to be perfect about everything to a woman who loves her life, who looks for brand new adventures all the time on her terms, and who enjoys and knows that living and intimacy and love and excitement are the most important things that you can have in your life that keep you growing and evolving as a person. Okay? So here's your homework assignment for today. I want you to find one thing that's safe that also scares the crap out of you. Maybe it's doing a live stream. Maybe it's singing a song in public. That's what my sister did the other night. It was awesome. She totally broke out of her comfort zone. She went, as part of her class, went to a bar and sang a solo in front of a crowd she didn't know. She faced that stuff, you know, and so do I. And that is how you get to the next stage in your life. So do one thing that's safe and opens that door and lets you not only move the fear, but gives you a positive new experience to put in that box too. You don't just have to have the ugly and the pain and the depression and the anxiety. You don't have to have that be the only thing in that box. It also gets to be filled with joy and happiness and connection and intimacy. Start doing that too. So find one thing. One thing. That's all you got to do, okay? Now, if you're having a hard time with this, let me know. Call me, PM me, text me. I do 3-month coaching programs. I do other coaching programs. Or if you're in the area, you get to do a coaching program with Shiatsu massage, which is the most magnificent way to heal, I personally think. You get to come in and move towards your goals and do it in the most pleasurable way. This is the difference between therapy and personal growth. Therapy, the focus tends to be on you're broken and how do we help you heal. Personal growth is you're not broken and let's embrace and engage every aspect of you and find the joy so that you never have to feel like you have to heal again, because you know how the process works. And you know whenever you start getting stressed out or whenever anything starts getting overwhelming, you know exactly what to do. And that's the difference. So if you don't know exactly what to do or you need some support, because we all totally need support, let me know. We'll hook you up with a coaching program. Or if you're in the area, we'll hook you up with coaching and body work, because it is the most fun way to enjoy life and not feel like you're crumbling or unraveling or that everything is falling apart around you. That's the difference, okay? Cool. So I'm so excited to get to know you better, and I will see you tomorrow.